back to another Ableton tutorial. Lovely to have you here. Big shout out YouTube gang, big shout out Patreon gang. Huge shout out to all the new Patreon members who jumped across and grabbed the instant IDM Vibe Generator rack that I posted last week. Link in the description below if you want to check that out, if you didn't do that already. The support over on Patreon really makes a difference. It really helps me keep doing what I'm doing. So huge thanks to everyone getting involved over there. Ooh. Goodness me. Right, what are we looking at today? Well, today we're looking at these kind of insane sort of drum textures. Let's have a listen to what's going on in the background. Just got this chords loop. We're going to press stop on that. We're going to look at how to turn this kind of a drum loop, something fairly simple, not doing so much, into this kind of glitchy craziness. And it gets crazier each time we re-trigger this. And it gets crazier and crazier, or we just end up with just the craziness like this. Oh, goodness me, goodness me. So we're going to look at how to do that. I'm just going to press stop on both of these. And let's start from the start. Let's start from the beginning. So I'm going to bring in a new drum rack, audio effects, instruments, drum rack. I'm going to drag that into a new channel. I'm just going to mute these two for now because we're not going to need them right now. Right, and let's bring in some sounds. So I'm going to use some of the sounds from this instant IDM Vibe Generator rack. You can use whatever samples you like. The instant IDM Vibe Generator comes with, I think, about 200 samples, each of which has 8 multi-samples. So there's a lot of stuff here to play with. So we're going to play with that in a different way. Don't need to use these samples. You can use any samples. I'm going to bring in some kicks. I'm also going to bring in some snares. Let's type in snare up the top here. Yeah, let's use these Neuro snares. Let's bring in some hats. Hats, and let's bring in some clicks. Yeah, some clicks. Now on all of these, I'm going to go in, I'm going to change it to gate instead of trigger mode, and I'm going to change it to slice mode. So we've now got this sliced into 8 individual samples. Going to do the same here, gate mode, slice. Let's bring down the transients a little bit more. There we go. Hats, again, slice mode, and change this to gate. Lovely, that's done that. Click, again, slice mode, and we'll change this to gate, and let's just move that. Yeah, there we go. Right, now on each of these, I'm going to already bring in a MIDI device random, because we're going to randomize the 8 individual samples. Again, if you're using just single samples, you can treat these however you like. You can just use sort of a standard drum beat. I find that this is just going to be, I think, a little bit more interesting. So going to make choices 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through, and chance at 100% on each of these. That's because I've got 8 individual samples, and I want it to randomly pick one of those samples to play. Let's bring another random in here. Bring this down to 8. And chance up to 100, and finally on the clicks, a random chance all the way up, choices down to 8. Okay, now let's program in a simple beat. Double click creates a MIDI clip of 1 bar. Let's make it 2 bars. And let's just program in something like this. Dunk, 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 dunk. I'm at 150 BPM today if you're wanting to follow along. It's a Monday morning, why not? Let's do this with the hats, but bring the velocity down on that second one. So it's going type thing. And let's just program in some clicks, something like this, there, and then maybe like that. And let's duplicate that all the way through. And let's bring down the chance on those. Let's make those happen only 50% of the time. Okay, now press play. What happens? Press play. We don't hear anything yet, even though we've got stuff being triggered on the rack here. And that's because of the outputs. So if I open up some of the rack options here, ins and outs, we can see that kick in is receiving the note C1, but it's sending out C3. We want that to be C1 in order for it to hit this first sample here. So I'm just going to drag that down till it says C1. And there we're getting a kick. I'm going to do the same on the snares. This needs to be C1. There we go. This also needs to be C1. This also needs to be C1. Let's just bring those hats down a little bit. Cool. Let's do a little bit of processing on this. I want to sidechain both the hats and the clicks against the kick and the snare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a return channel. So I hit the little R here that opens up a slightly different menu down the bottom. I'm going to right click, create return chain. I'm going to turn that volume all the way down, and I'm going to rename this SC for sidechain. Now if I turn on the sends here, I can send the kick and the snare to that sidechain. Send the kick and the snare. Now we see input happening on the sidechain, but no output. So that means it's not duplicated the sound, but I now have a sidechain channel that I can use. I'm going to shut the returns and shut the sends. Now I'm going to put a compressor after these hats. Audio effects compressor. There we go. Just after the hats in here, I'm going to turn on the sidechain filter, and I'm going to take that from my drum rack number 5, and I'll go down here and I find it's a little bit out of shot, but sidechain, and I want that to be post effects, not post mixer. If it's post mixer, then we're not going to get any level, but post effects means that, and you can hear that as I drag that down, that's sidechaining the hat against the kick and the snare. Let's do the same thing on this glitch. I'm also going to, actually before that, I'm going to add an OTT because I think that's going to be nice on the clicks. Lovely. Bring in that compressor again. Sidechain, external input from drum rack. I'm going to select sidechain post effects. And I hear that I've got too many choices on the random. It needs to be 7 choices instead of 8 on all of these. Otherwise, we're not getting a hit every time. And now on glitch click, I'm now just also going to add a little bit of random panning. I think that will be fun in here. So let's turn up that random panning. Lovely. And that's it. That's it for the drum programming that I'm going to do. That's kind of similar to the little drum groove that you heard at the beginning. Let's just make actually all of these hits a little bit longer, so we get a little bit more decay on the kick and the snare. There we go. There we go. That's nice. Just kind of a random drum beat happening. Right, now, how do we create these glitches? Well, we're going to use Granulator for that. So instruments, Granulator, and the wavetable, we're going to take Granulator. We're going to take Granulator 3, and we're going to put that on a note in this drum rack. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is turn on this in out here, and I'm going to select where I'm taking the sound from. So I'm going to select the drum rack itself, and we're going to post mixer. So what this is doing is this is holding a buffer of, in this case, the previous 2 seconds that's been played by this drum rack, and that holds that in a buffer. Then I can press capture, and you see that it has now captured that previous 2 seconds. I press capture again. I press capture again. It's capturing the previous 2 seconds. I'm actually going to turn that up to 4 seconds. I found that works really nicely on this. Don't have to do that. You can leave it at 2. You can leave it at 8. You get slightly different character of the granular sound when we do that. Now, I'm going to bring in some LFOs and change a couple of settings on here. So I'm going to go to Audio Effects, LFO. I'm going to drag that in after. I'm going to change that to random. I'm going to turn the smooth all the way up. I'm going to duplicate that twice. And the last one of these I'm actually going to change to be changing at 1 bar. These other 2, I'm just going to leave them at sort of a free rate. Actually, let's change the rate a little bit. We're going to get a bit more variation through the sound. Yeah, something like that. Right. Yeah, let's press stop on that loop for now. So what the granulator is going to do, I'm going to double click here and just create a MIDI note for the granulator and just press play on that. So the way that the granulator works is it has these few things that we can do. We can change the position like this so that you can see that that's sort of moving which bit of these previous 4 seconds is getting played. We have a scan, which, depending on how high the scan up, you can see it's scanning through the sample. And we have the grain size, which gives us these kind of textures when we sort of slowly scan through. So this is what we're going to play with. So I'm going to use this LFO to modulate the scan. and that's a little bit too much. I'm going to bring that down. There we go. So it's either going super slow or a bit faster like that. I'm going to use this LFO to modulate the grain size. Again, a little bit too much variation. Let's make that more like that. Nice. And I'm going to use this LFO to modulate the position. And that's quite okay to leave that up at really high. Now, let's press stop on that. So you can see what's happening there. Now we need to sort of create a situation where we can resample, where we don't have to come in and press this capture button, but instead it's actually just going to do that for us. So this is my single note granular. So I'm just going to rename that granular. This is the sort of general beat. Now I'm going to duplicate that, rename that beat and granular, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a granular thing that goes all the way through. But I'm also now going to come in here in the envelopes, and I'm going to search for the I'm going to search for the granulator envelope that's going to let me turn on that capture. So it's all the way up the top here. Shit, it's slightly out of screen. My apologies. You'll see detune, density, and then capture audio. And that's what I'm going to modulate here. So I'm just going to turn that to be on, just on at the start. So that's going to re-trigger the capture, and then it's going to turn off. Now, I don't want that to happen each time the clip is played. So I'm going to turn linked off, and I'm going to turn loop off. So that's now just going to re-trigger that capture clip once each time I trigger this clip. So now we come in here, and you can see that's now triggered the capture. But what that's also doing is sending this to the output of the rack. So each time I press this, we're getting some of the granulator included in the capture. So the more I press this, the more crazy textures we're getting. Which means we get this sort of destructive granulation stuff happening. Let's just kind of reset that. And now I'm going to capture it again. And now it's a bit simpler. Right, let's do a little bit of processing on this. Let's add an OTT because that's going to really help all of these sounds. Bring down the amount to about 50%. I'm also going to sidechain that against the kick and the snare, so I'm going to bring in a compressor. I'm going to turn on the sidechain from drum rack. We want sidechain post effects. Nice. Let's add a reverb that's kind of doing a little bit of random stuff in here, sort of a super tight room reverb. So let's bring in a reverb, bring the decay right down. Yeah, it's just creating a bit of texture. LFO after that, and we're just going to set this to random, and let's map that to the dry wet here. Nice. Super fun. So there you go. That's the rack. A little bit of a shorter video today. Hope you got something from it. Hope you got inspired. Patreon members on the entry-level €3 tier will be able to download this rack, including all of the samples in it. Well, you'll just be able to download this whole project, actually. Link in the description below if you want to go and grab that. The support over there means a lot. Thanks for being here. Catch you next time.